Jason Fitz, ESPN, Spain and Fitz. You can hear it right here on 97.3 ESPN, weeknights from 7 to 9. And, of course, he joins us Wednesdays on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline as we got so much to dive into. NFL Week 1 starts tomorrow night. Baseball is coming down the stretch for the playoffs, but we got to start in the NBA. Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks, they go out. So what's the future in Milwaukee? And Jason Fitz, I mean, how much stock do we put into this season, them being the number one seed again and getting knocked out in pretty decisive fashion? Are there the possibility of changes coming in Milwaukee?
I think there should be. I mean, I think it's fair at this point, at least a coaching change. Let me say it that way. And look, I think Budenholzer's done a really good job in a lot of ways. But at some point, you got to look around and say, okay, well, what can we change? I think one of the things that's really bothered me in listening to some of the coverage, even over the last 24 to 48 hours on the Bucks, is people keep saying, well, they just need to go out and get this guy or that guy. Well, they're pretty strapped into who they have from a contract situation and from a cap situation. They don't have a lot of movable deals. They don't have a lot of pieces that are going to be easy for them to just ship out. So it's not like they can say, okay, well, we're going to bring in whoever, like a Chris Paul's going to come here. Well, not unless he's willing to play for next to nothing and they can find trade partners that are going to get them out of the pinch they're in. So I think they're sort of stuck where they are for the most part. And being stuck where you are means suddenly you're going to have to find a way to change something. So Budenholzer, to me, is the easiest thing to change, but there is some level of concern in my mind with how different the offenses looked those two games that there was virtually no Giannis. And you talk about how quick they were and how much more momentum they had and how much more they pressed the ball in general. And that's what they did in the regular season. It just feels like in the playoffs, they get shut down to a half-court offense that doesn't execute very well. So, the decisive victory from the Heat can't be taken away. And so I think Budenholzer, unfortunately, for somebody that seems to be a good guy and seems to have had the right notes for this team during the regular season, is they've got to look for a change.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this more of an indictment in, I know you can't make those changes, but we had the same thing here in Philly. Is this more an indictment on the coach, Mike Budenholzer, or the player, Giannis Antetokounmpo? Are we starting to find out that you maybe can't win with him?
Yeah, well, and I think Giannis, look, I do believe it's fair to say there are limitations still to Giannis's game. And we all can see that to a certain extent. And that being said, he's two-time MVP. Presuming that he wins again this, he'll be a two-time MVP, right? And that's we're talking like nitpicking. And the same thing that we talked about when we talked about Simmons and Embiid. If you put Simmons and Embiid up on the trade market right now and told any team they could go out and acquire them, those are two players that would be in massive demand, even for any limitations that they have. So if you know that you've got an epic player, then you got to look at the coach first, because I can't find a way that the Bucks get better by unloading Giannis. And even if they unload Giannis for just an absolute haul, is that going to make them a better team? I have a really hard time seeing it. So, getting rid of Anthony Davis certainly did not make the Pelicans better. It got them in a position to get a lot of players. Maybe eventually it helps them. But right now, I'd say that the Lakers are pretty happy with, no matter what that deal looks like on the other side, with the deal that got them AD.
How much of this is where Giannis is in his career? He's 25 years old, and he's been taking extreme steps, which intrigues everybody. But at the same time, he might not be where he needs. Well, it's pretty clear, it looks like. He's not where he needs to be yet. He's 30 to 32% from three, which is definitely not insanely well from three, but it shows that he's willing to do it. I just wonder, when you look at the history of the NBA and when guys seem to take that step of really pushing towards the NBA Finals consistently, they're not 25 years old. They're in that 30-year-old range.
Yeah, and you make such a great point. The problem is he's got the physique of a grown man. We all know that. But then you look back at the pictures of when he was drafted, and you realize how meteoric his rise has been, not just in size, but in development of his game. And so you start thinking about all those things together. I don't think long-term there's any limitation on who Giannis can be. The problem that the Bucks have is that they've got to go all in on keeping him happy right now, because as everybody knows, he made it clear championships matter to him. And if he doesn't think he can win one, then he's going to leave Milwaukee, in my mind. Loyalty aside, you want to win a championship if you're a player at the level of Giannis, especially knowing that everything about your legacy will be questioned for life if you don't. So, it puts the extra pressure on Milwaukee to get something done. If we were just having a conversation about Giannis and saying, could Giannis be good enough in 5 years to be the best player in the NBA? I still believe the answer to that is yes. The problem for the Bucks is that in the meantime, they've got to do whatever they can to win a championship right now so they get to see us in 5 years. Because if they can't get it done and they end up being a 2 or 3 seed next year, remembering that Brooklyn's going to be healthy and hard to beat, if they end up being a 2 or 3 seed next year and have no momentum, he's not coming back in my mind. So that's why this is such a difficult situation. But you are very fair in saying that, Giannis he's 25. He's still got a lot of time left to develop his game.
ESPN's Jason Fitz. Spain and Fitz, you can hear it on 97.3 ESPN 7 to 9 weeknights. And were you surprised that Billy Donovan and Oklahoma City parted ways? And do you find him to maybe be the most attractive coaching option out there for a place that needs a coach like, say, Philadelphia?
Yeah, yes. And he's done well, we forget how difficult it is to make the leap from college to pros, right? And we forget how difficult it is to sort of be the right personality and understand the change of the game. And we also forget how many coaches fail in that same leap. Billy Donovan, I think, has had a tremendous amount of success compared to what we could have expected. And he's made the best of a situation that at times can be difficult in Oklahoma City. So, the fact that they mutually parted ways is because if you're the Thunder, in my mind, you feel like you're constantly just running it back. And it's like that group at the gym that always thinks that the next time they get on the floor is going to be the time they finally win one. And it just doesn't work out. So I understand the mutually parting ways. But yes, if I'm a team right now with young talent particularly, and I need a coach, man, not only has Donovan shown you that he can do it at a professional level schematically, he's also shown you that he understands how to get the right notes out of the right people. I think he'd be a great hire for Philly.
Do you think that he would be a better hire than, say, Ty Lue?
That's a really good question. Ty Lue is the name that always comes up. I don't know. I think there's a freshness and an energy to Donovan that I prefer. And especially when you're talking about what the 76ers need, in my mind, from a coach, is somebody that can convince everybody to not only play within the system of what they want, but can also convince everybody that they're the guy that can sort of bring them all together. I think Donovan's got more of that. To me, Donovan's got more it factor when it comes to getting guys to buy into him in his room. In some ways, I know it's a strange comparison, but he's a little like Dabo in the college football world. Like, there's just a thing about him that I think can make people gravitate to what he's doing. And there's an opportunity there to remind Simmons and Embiid that they can play within the system but still have fun. I think they have a better chance of doing that with Donovan than Ty.
All right, Jason Fitz, tomorrow night is the kickoff of the NFL season. We had questioned whether we would ever get to this point, but they are going to start the NFL tomorrow night. There's actually going to be some fans at Arrowhead Stadium. I think it's going to be like 20% capacity there. And are the Chiefs, for you, the clear favorite to repeat, or is there a couple of other teams that you have your eye on more than them?
I don't think anybody's even going to give them a tough time when it comes to winning the Super Bowl. I don't remember a season, and it really hit me yesterday. I was sitting there thinking about the NFL season, and I think a lot of us have been so worried that we're not going to see a full season that people just haven't gotten as excited for the season coming up, which I think is unfair. We should just enjoy what we have. But as I looked at the season, one of the things that makes the NFL so spectacular is that every year you just don't know. And this year I feel like I do. The Chiefs are so clearly set, barring injury, to be better than everybody else. They feel like that type of team that we saw, I'll go back to like the 86 Bears that were even better than the 85 Bears but didn't win the Super Bowl. Like, it's going to take some level of, oh my God, I can't believe that happened, to knock the Chiefs off. So to me, the AFC is a done deal. The NFC is much more interesting, and that's where, I think it gets trickier to figure out who the Chiefs are going to play in the Super Bowl, but I think the Chiefs win it all.
All right, that's tomorrow night right here on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, Spain and Fitz, 7 to 9 weeknights on 97.3 ESPN. He joins us each week right here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. A nice little whip around of what's happening. And, of course, he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Thanks, Jay.
You guys are the best. Appreciate you. Stay safe.